Hi, it's Jay from Iridescent Tarot back with some more sparkle for you. So today I am wearing Cracked Polish Experiment, which is like a spearminty green with orangey yellow shimmer. And at some angles you can see like a little bit of red, a little bit of green shimmer. It looks super stunning in the bottle, but I don't think it's very flattering on the nail for me, so for perfume, I'm wearing Bastet's Ice Cream Hot Cocoa. The notes for this perfume are ice cream plus hot cocoa, raw cocoa essence, whipped chocolate, and mallow. I freaking love this perfume. It smells like sticking your nose into a box of Cocoa Krispies, like Flintstone cereal. It's just so warm and embracing, and when you're sick, this feels like the perfect thing to wear to just like embrace you in a warm hug. So today I wanted to make a video response to Sylvie at Tarot Magpie. She's one of my favorite tarot tubers. She comes up with some of the most genius ways to work with your cards. Highly recommend, can't recommend enough. But she posted a video titled How I'd Rebuild a Tarot Collection from Scratch, parentheses, 5 deck types you actually need. The categories that Sylvie created were baseline calibration decks, study decks in their own worlds, highlighting tarot's layers, decks I actually learn from, practice as play decks. And like as soon as I was watching this, my brain was like I couldn't wait to see how many of our categories kind of overlapped, how I felt about like the way that I categorized the decks in my own collection. And it actually ended up having a lot of overlap with my if I could only keep 10 decks, what would they be video? Because basically those are the decks that if I could only have 10 for the rest of my life, what would I pick? So there is a lot of overlap, but I tried to do a little bit of variety in the actual decks that I selected for this one, just to keep it fun for me. If I were going to rebuild my collection totally from scratch, the first category that I would fill are just your standard baseline systems decks. So that would be a plain old RWS, a plain old Thoth, and a plain old Marseille. And when I say plain old, I don't mean like the most boring of the boring. I just mean like basically as close to standard as you can get. So this is like my little mini RWS. I gave it like a little bit of a rainbow overlay. So it has like a little bit of zhuzh to it, but it's your standard old images. You're not going to find anything shocking or different in here. And these are the kind of decks that I need in my collection in order to deepen my study when I am working with just the basic system. These are the images that come to mind when I think of the actual cards in my brain. As basic as they are, I just enjoy having them in my collection. So rebuilding from scratch, category number 1. Same goes with Thoth. This is the inverted mini Thoth. Being in the middle of my Thoth study, I am like slowly chugging through learning this deck. It has, I'm not gonna lie, it's been kind of a slog for me. But there is value to learning the basic systems and then adding knowledge on top of that. So as much as I'm fighting with the system right now, I would rebuild my collection from scratch having one of these in there. Category 2 is non-RWS clones, but not entirely their own systems. So this to me pretty much covers most of the decks that are on the market, right? Because most of the decks you see out there are based off of RWS. These are decks that you're not going to see the exact imagery from RWS, but it has whispers of that. It's based off of that system. And like for me, at least, this makes up the bulk of my collection. It allows me to jump off the base system of whatever it is. So for this one, it would be RWS, but have some imagery that resonates with me more than what the traditional cards look like. Once I fulfilled like one slot of each of RWS, Thoth, Marseille, I would want to expand into these non-clone, but not quite their own system decks. Like the important part for this category is that you're still able to like take these cards out of the box and read them pretty easily without having to study an entirely new system. You can glean what you need from the card images or from what you see plus the like repertoire that you have in your brain of what you know about RWS or other systems. And that brings us to the difference between category 2 and category 3. Category 3 are my study decks. And these are decks that like I really wouldn't feel super comfortable using without dedicating some amount of time studying the images, reading through the guidebook, just like dedicating time to these decks. I feel like these are decks that you want to do your due diligence with and really give them the time that they need. Telos Tarot 777, similar idea where these are images that are based off of Thoth, but I know how much symbolism and information that M.M. Moline added to these cards, and I wouldn't want to just like read with it without having done a deeper study into what she intended with everything. So I'm waiting for the larger guidebook to be released so that I can give this deck the attention and in-depth study that it deserves. So I would consider this one of my study decks. Studying decks brings me both a lot of joy in getting to learn the new information, but also expands my tarot knowledge and makes me a better reader. And so that's why I feel like for me, having study decks is an essential part of my collection. The last true category that I have separated out are my question decks. While I've always enjoyed question decks or decks that help me create spreads like the Spread Machine Oracle, it's really Sylvie who, in her mind mapping the tarot with this deck, like really nailed the point home for me of how important these types of decks are in just like adding creativity and depth and meaning to my readings. And so I have a few different decks that ask questions on them, and I really enjoy employing them. Like they feel like they have an important job to do. They feel like they not only help me create spreads and ask important questions, but they can lead to deeper journaling practice. I think that it's easy to get into having too many of them. And so at least right now for me, I have this Phases in Forest, the Prairie Majesty, the Spirit Kittens, the Witch Kittens, those kind of come together. Only Whales Can Save Us. So I feel like I'm pretty saturated with these question decks. If there were to be another one that were released that I really wanted, like I think that I would have to do a 1-for-1 exchange. Like how many question decks can one person have? But I do feel like they play a really important part in my practice and therefore deserved their own category for me. So if I had to answer the question that Sylvie was posing, which is what are the categories of decks that you would need to fill to rebuild your collection? What do you feel like is the most necessary? My answer to that would be these 4 categories. You have your major systems decks, you have your non-clone but not their own system decks, you have your study decks, and you have your spread decks. Like that would do it for me. I have a bonus 5th category that I don't like. For me, these decks make up a large part of my practice, so I feel like they're necessary for me, but different people read in different ways, and I don't think that this is like necessarily applicable for everybody. And so these are what I would call like my therapy decks. This deck here, the Narrative Alchemy Tarot, was written by a practicing like licensed mental health clinician, and I just really enjoy the thoughtful commentary that she's added to the guidebook. And so for me, it kind of feels like when I pull a card and read from this guidebook that I'm like co-creating a spread with a therapist, and I really enjoy that. I have a couple of other decks that do that, and Into the Lonely Woods is one of those for me. This deck was there for me in a very difficult time, and I know that many people have talked about it being a grief deck, and I will just forever be grateful to this deck. And sometimes you just need like a warm hug, a supportive, I'm there for you deck. And this deck just was that for me. And so it can be very validating. And there are a few decks that I think fit into this category, like these blue bones, for example. So yeah. So those are my 4 categories plus a little extra bonus category. Like I said, I just wanted to show some appreciation for Sylvie because her channel has brought me so much, just like such a wealth of knowledge. Now that I've been making videos of my own, I see how much work that takes. And I just wanted to say thank you. I've just benefited from so many hours of watching your videos, and you've had a true impact on my practice. So yeah, thank you for watching. And if you enjoyed, please like and subscribe, drop me a comment. As I said in one of my other videos, I'm here for the comments. Like, I am making these videos because I want to participate in the community and get to know everybody and just be a part of it all. So even if you don't make videos, like, drop me a comment and let me know what your categories would be, and we can chit chat about it a little bit and see if maybe there's a category that I overlooked or would do differently. Yeah, I just can't get enough of talking about tarot. So please spark that conversation in the comments because I will be there for it all the way. It was so good talking to you, and I will talk to you later. Signing out.